This summer I bought these 4 chairs from a thrift store for about $15 or 150 crowns each. I wanted a project and I wanted some chairs for my new kitchen. But they needed quite a bit of work. They were in rough condition when I bought them, and I managed to get the price down a little bit. This is the process of me trying to restore them with quite good results, but a couple of mistakes along the way, as there usually is. As you can see, the upholstery was quite bad, and also there were quite a few scuffs and marks in the wood frame itself. There was also different kinds of screws in each chair. Started to scrape off the lacquer, but it wasn't too effective, so I went on with some paint strip around there. Although, in hindsight, I should probably just have scraped them. And after the paint stripper, I used the heat gun to soften and remaining lacquer, and then scraping it off, which proved the most effective method. Here's one of them ready. Using some mineral spirits here to clean off the surface. Starting the sanding process here, which took a lot of hours, and also making a test board for the different stain dyes I could use. This was my first time staining beechwood, and it was a bit easier on this test board than it was on the chairs, as you will see later. And while that was drying, I sanded them a bit more. I later learned that you shouldn't over sand a beach wood, you should just sand the necessary amount, but I went a bit overboard with that. And that had some consequences for the stain as well. Here I'm removing the fabric from the cushions, which had been put on by, well, let's say not a professional. And I'm spraying them with water here to raise the grain for the last sand. However, I later realized that I shouldn't have gone up to 180 grit and just kept to 120. One of the mistakes of this project was trying to fill in these cracks in the wood with wood filler that wasn't really a good color match, and it wasn't made for staining either, so it came out a weird color later. But in the moment it seemed like a good idea. and starting to stain, and here it all goes wrong. Here you can see the first chair that I stained, which didn't come out good at all, and yeah, that turned out to be quite bad actually. And one of the later ones, which became much more even and, well, not perfect, but much better. On the first one, I was afraid to clean it off too quickly, but it just dried unevenly instead. And this looks much better. Applying a finish, which is glossy. And for the cushions, I got help from my grandpa, who was an upholsterer for many years, but he hasn't been doing it too recently. He's basically quit now due to his age, but he still wanted to help me with this project, which was nice of him. And I immediately realized that all of his muscle memory and skill is still in him, and he picked it up like it was yesterday he left off. Especially these corners would have been difficult for me, who's not that experienced like him. That was one of the problems with the chairs when I bought them, was that the corners were poorly done. But now they look beautiful, thanks to Grandpa. Assembling the chairs back together. And yes, I am using the same screws. I didn't find any good replacements. We also added a new layer in between the foam and the fabric to make them a bit softer again. And the final touches. And they're all done. I'm quite happy with this project, although the staining problems and sanding problems were a bit annoying, but I used them in my kitchen and I am very happy with them. Every project can't be perfect. I hope you enjoyed.